judge overseeing the case of Jeffrey Epstein has denied the unsealing of grand jury transcripts and exhibits, rejecting the DOJ's request to make them public. Joining us now, NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter. Tom, maybe I'm going crazy, but I could have sworn this judge already did this.
Well, a judge did already do it, Katie, but a judge in a different case. That was the judge overseeing the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. This is the judge that had been overseeing the prosecution into Jeffrey Epstein. And obviously, that prosecution ended when Jeffrey Epstein died in his cell as a result of suicide. But then came the federal prosecutors and really the Department of Justice making an argument saying, look, why don't we unseal the grand jury transcripts? And we know where that came from. That came from the White House because we heard that the president say that and heard that this was a discussion, something that Donald Trump urged to have happen in this case. And so this motion went before the court. The judge solicited feedback from the attorneys that represent the Jeffrey Epstein estate. He also heard and wanted feedback from the victims in this case and from their attorneys and representatives. So the overall gist or the bottom line of this motion is that the grand jury transcripts, which he says amount to about 70 pages in this case, coming from a single FBI agent and the exhibits associated with them, are not going to be unsealed. There's really 9 factors that he says he needed to, this is Judge Richard Berman, that he needed to consider. 8 of them, in his opinion, favored the continued sealing of this, and the 9th one was neutral as to whether or not these documents should be unsealed. Interestingly, he points out that he says a significant and compelling reason to reject the government's position in this litigation is that the government already has undertaken a comprehensive investigation into the Epstein case, and not surprisingly, has assembled a trove of Epstein documents, interviews, and exhibits. And the government committed, this is the Justice Department he's referring to, that it would share its Epstein investigation materials with the public. He writes, the instant grand jury motion, this whole effort, Katie, to unseal these files, appears to be a, quote, diversion from the breadth and scope of the Epstein files in the government's possession.
So interesting. You surprised that that was included?
Judge Berman has always been someone who, I've been a number of proceedings before him. He was clearly, and he references it here, impacted by the testimony of over 20 women who were in his court following the death of Epstein to provide their own victim impact statements about what they say happened to them as a result of Epstein. He clearly reviewed the case file or the trial record with respect to Ghislaine Maxwell. So it doesn't surprise me that the judge is going to let his feelings known. He's always been somebody who's been noted to be very direct. And he noted that those victim letters were so important in his decision-making process, the fact that they feared for their safety and privacy. He says, look, the Justice Department didn't give them sufficient notice that they were even going to do this. So those factors all weighed clearly on the judge's mind. How do we know that? Because he says it in his own opinion and order.
Yeah, and he's making the very clear point that the Justice Department has the ability to unseal all sorts of stuff. They don't need to put it on the back
It's not
of the
even
courts.
sealed, to be clear.
Oh, there you go. Tom Winter, thank you very much.